Hey, welcome back to Tuesday afternoon.
Hi everybody, it's Tuesday and welcome back. And today we're making Sundrop. Really, I think he is my favorite character from Security Breach. Fantastic character. We're going to start with polymer clay, a foil base, and I'm going to use glass gems for the eyes. These white glass gems can be found in a mixed pack. They usually have black and white gems together. After you're happy with the overall size of the head, we are going to move on and start blocking in the moon shape. When you're blocking in the moon shape, you want to pay attention to the areas that are raised up higher, and also you need to make sure to make all the little craters like the ones on the top of the moon, the crescent moon, and then on his nose, and then at the bottom of the crescent moon there are 3 little craters. I noticed that the moon is slightly up higher than the side that is the sun. So when you're sculpting that and you're dividing it up, remember that, because if you look even where the teeth are, the moon side is up higher. Another important element of his face are his cheeks. They're a little bit up over his eyes, and one has a carved circle and the other one has a circle that is raised up. Now, I didn't include it in this one, but I plan on making Moondrop, so I'll definitely include it there. But you're going to want to put a hole in the center of the back of the head. This will allow it to be able to swivel. You're going to want to put some clay on the back before, so you'll have a little bit of a deeper area for the wire to be inserted into. After I finished sculpting, I went ahead and baked the head, but knowing what I know now, I probably would end up making the torso and then baking them together, because the torso is really simple and easy to make. My biggest tip when you are baking something in the oven, you want to always lay down parchment paper. And why you do that is because usually the polymer clay will pick up the surface it is laying on when it's being heated, so you'll have like this shiny finish to things, and you really don't want to have to sand it down. So go ahead and put some parchment paper down. If you put aluminum foil down, it's still going to pick that up. If you like my content, please like and subscribe. Please let me know what you would like to see me make next. I know I'm going to make Moondrop, but I always enjoy hearing people's suggestions, and I write them down in my notebook and I keep them in mind when I'm working on projects. You're going to just make a simple hand, and then you're going to use a tool and you're going to put in the individual segments. After you're finished sculpting the hand, remember to put the hole in where the wire is going to be inserted into. I still have the bells to sculpt, but everything else is done. So just go ahead and stick it in the oven, and then we're going to paint it. I used acrylic paint. I used yellow, gray, and white on the torso, and then also I used red for the buttons. On the face, I'm using a gold yellow color for the sun portion, and I'm going to also be using chalk pastel, which I have taken an individual stick of pastel and scraped off some of it into a powdered form, and I'm just going to apply it with a brush. When I was working on the moon side, I actually went ahead and painted the whole thing white, and I took some sandpaper and I sanded away areas because I noticed he had some scrapes. If you look at him in the game, he has scrapes that run down his face on the moon side. So I wanted to try to recreate that. Next, we're going to be moving on to the shoes, and I'm going to use the same exact color of gold that I used on the head. We're just going to put, I'd say, about 2 layers of the acrylic on, and then on the inside part of the shoe, we're going to paint a crescent moon, and on the outside, we're going to paint a star. You're going to want to take some pastel that you had left over from painting the head and put it in all those little wrinkles that we made in the shoes. For the hands, you're going to want to do a layer of white paint and then let that dry. Paint in each individual segment of the fingers with black paint and then blush it with some black pastel. Next, we're going to be making his posable arms. All you're going to need is your wire and hot glue. Just insert the glue into your holes you made in the torso and also into the holes you made in the hands. We're going to take some stuffing, we're going to glue it to the torso, and then we're going to wrap that stuffing around the wire. Make sure that the stuffing is very thin. You don't want it super thick because if you notice, he has really thin arms and we still have to make the individual segments on his arms. To make the legs, we're just going to repeat the process. I'm going to cover the arms and the legs in a cotton-like material. You can use any kind of material, but you want it to have a little bit of stretch. If you want, if you have an old t-shirt that's white and you're not using it anymore, that would work perfectly. Just don't use a t-shirt that you ever want to wear again. And if you don't want to, you really don't even have to cover the legs because he's going to be wearing pants. So you just need to add material to the arms. Now let's make the individual segments of his arm. Now this was a little tricky for me because I wanted his arm to be shaped. If you looked at his forearm, he actually has a little bit of shape to his arm, and I knew I didn't want to stuff his arm. So I'm going to use Bristol paper, but you can also use the cardboard that you would find on cereal boxes and that kind of stuff. And then after you do that, you're going to glue it on. Just that simple. You can actually apply some white duct tape to the outside if you don't want to paint it, and that will keep it from getting little crease marks and everything in it. You're going to want to also paint some cardboard for his sun rays, and then I ended up painting fabric instead of purchasing it. If you look, it's very shiny, so I covered it in polyurethane and it will give it that shiny appearance. I went ahead and repeated the process for the ruffles. I'm just going to use acrylic paint. I'm going to paint both sides, and then I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to fold it into accordion shape. I'm going to also make all the little details for the cuffs with the leftover material I have. For the ruffle, I ran some thread through. I actually used white thread here so you could see it, but I'd recommend using red thread. And I'm just going to tighten it and tie it. And I'm going to tack it into place with some hot glue. I'm going to repeat the process with the collar, and I'm going to glue it into place, and remember to put the gap in. I noticed there was some red on his lower torso, so I'm going to blend that out and give it the same effect. Since he's pretty much done now, I went ahead and I sculpted the bells. Just a simple little X, and on the end of each X, you're going to put a little circle. After it's done baking, paint it. We're going to now attach the sunbeams. I'm going to hot glue them on. And then we're going to add some red pastel. I did use orange in the beginning, but it didn't quite match what it looked like in the picture. So I used red and it matched perfectly. So there you go. I'm going to cover the sunbeams, the ruffles, and again his pant legs and the ribbons around his wrists in polyurethane, and that's going to actually stiffen and protect those elements of his clothing and the sunbeams. I would recommend putting 3 layers of the polyurethane on, and don't forget the final touch, adding on the bells to his wrist and the end of his shoes. And I would recommend just putting a little bit of super glue in the hole and using a piece of thread and attaching it that way. And there you go. He's all done. Please let me know below what you think of him. Also, I will include how to attach the head when I make Moondrop. I didn't record it and I'm not sure why, but I will be sure to add it when I make him because I want to have both of them. I want to have Sundrop and Moondrop side by side, and I probably am just going to have him on my table because I really like him. He turned out really neat, and I love how his head turns, and you can pose his arms, and his white eyes just catch the light so nice. And I can make him sway back and forth just like in the game. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your support so much. Like and subscribe if you like my content. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Bye.